We're here. We're back. It's April 28th. We have another episode of Adventures in Business Live. Mandy, happy last Monday of April. How are we doing?
Well, Amani, as you can see, I'm in the Renovation Nation temporary dwelling. We're looking for names for this. We're looking for
Renovation Nation. Renovation Nation is good.
Renovation Nation is good. It's we've got some name. I've been telling. It feels like I'm camping, so I've been telling Scooter I'm going to the campsite. So I'm open to names. If anybody has a suggestion for the temporary dwelling, I'm open to names. That's what's happening. Yeah.
And then a bonus for this week is we actually get to see each other in not digitally via pixels, but in person at WeCon.
Yes. In real life, I know. And Amani and I, that people may not know this, but Amani and I obviously we do 3 interviews every Monday. And then, so we're together for 2.5 hours every Monday virtually, but we also, we serve on different committees together. So we also have business meetings, we have growth meetings, but we never get to see each other in person. So Amani, do we tell them we're doing our sweat working? We're doing a sweat working walk at WeCon together. Just Amani.
We're doing an after dinner walk. That's what we'll call it. An after dinner walk.
It's a digestion walk.
Oh gosh, I don't like that name.
I know,
after dinner walk. And we'll be able to debrief and just catch up, ask questions. It'll be really good. I'm excited. I'm very excited.
I'm excited too. I want to know what was on tap for you this past weekend, because I feel like your weekends have been filled with just grading papers and book launch stuff and all this College of Berkeley music coaching stuff. Like what did you do this weekend that wasn't involving all that other nonsense you've been working on?
So I would think this weekend, because I did have an author talk here in Vegas, I think this weekend I followed the NFL draft. That was exciting. Towards the end of last week, I attended my first Mahjong class. That was great.
Oh,
it was great. So we did
Amani,
that.
do you have a coach? Do you have a Mahjong coach? Like, how did it go down?
So we got there, and it was like 3 of us from improv class went, and they paired us with another person. So there's 4 of us playing, and they would come around and coach you and tell us the rules. So many rules, so many ways to score. It was so much fun, though. So we're gonna try again in a couple of weeks. But that was probably the highlight of the week. And so that was pretty much the weekend. Just try to get as much rest as possible. I'm trying to think what happens Friday. I think Friday I went to bed early because I was tired. So yeah, that was this weekend. That was the weekend.
That's awesome. I'm sorry. I'm so preoccupied. I'm looking out the window. This is a new dwelling for me. And there's so many weird things happening out my window right now. Like a man just literally almost walked up. He's coming back. He just walked up to the window. Really quick. I feel like Mahjong is the new pickleball.
Really?
Like everybody I know is like, oh, I'm playing Mahjong. And it's like 4 years ago when everyone was playing pickleball. Like, have you Have you heard a lot of people playing this, or is this new in your area in Las Vegas?
It's new to me. I've heard a lot of people playing it, but there was a good amount of people there learning. So it's kind of a social game for people playing together. Um, no, I have to keep an eye on that. We'll see.
Yeah, that's exciting. I like
Yeah.
that
What
you're
about
out there.
you?
You're getting social.
I'm trying to do my best. I'm trying to do my best, my very best. What about
That's
you?
good. What, with mahjong or pickleball?
No, the past weekend. What did you
Oh,
do that wasn't work related?
it's like I don't play mahjong. I love pickleball. Well, we went to Art Alive yesterday.
Mm,
So they had all these arts, these beautiful works of art, and then people recreated their own work of art with flowers, imitating the art. So that was really cool at the Museum of Art in San Diego. And it was fun. I hung out with some girlfriends I hadn't seen in a while. So I had a couple glasses of wine. That was fun. Unexpected 2 glasses of wine on a Sunday. That was wonderful. And then Scoot's budget season just ended. He prepares for 2 months,
yeah.
and then he presented his budget on Friday. So that was just good to get my husband back, like his brain
Yeah.
back and everything. So we had a fun weekend. We went to the Padres game Saturday night, and
Okay.
it was super fun.
All right. All right. So
Mhm.
today we're going to talk about some real estate, whether or not to
Yeah.
invest, this and that. Who are we talking to today?
Well, I want to tell a quick story about our guest today before I
Okay.
do the official introduction, because I think this is about the power of suggestion. So I've personally known this guest, I think, for about 10 years. We'll have to fact check that when he comes to the screen. But I've been following him on Instagram, and recently he said, well, maybe a couple months ago, he said that he was on his very first podcast and he wanted to do more. And I was like, well, you should be on our podcast because, he's got a great voice. He's got a great level of expertise. He's one of us, right? So I think, like, if he wouldn't have said this was my first podcast, it wouldn't have occurred to me to ask him to be on the podcast. And so I think it's like a good power of suggestion. Like, tell people what you're doing.
Yes.
Even if you think it's something small or little, tell people, because you never know when that might spark the interest. So it is a big honor that we have a lifelong award-winning Marriott sales executive, a former Marriott sales executive, turned real estate executive. He's a dad, he's a husband, he's a San Francisco Bay Area expert in real estate. But the most important thing you should know about our guest today is that he really cares. We're going to ask him about that, but he really cares. So welcome to the show, Chris Meadors. It's so good to see you.
Yes. Yes. Okay. We'll give you a round of applause as you enter into the stage.
Welcome.
Very good. Very good. So, Chris, welcome to the show. My opening question for you would be pretty simple, because as a fellow former Marriott salesperson executive, what inspired you to leave Marriott and pursue real estate full time?
Great question. Well, first of all, thanks to you both for having me. I've had a ton of fun getting ready for this in the last 48 hours or so, listening to you guys. And I just need to say that I'm really, really honored to be here. And I'm really impressed with the lives and the career that both of you guys have built. When you talk about entrepreneurial spirit, it's pretty impressive. Just if you haven't read your resumes in a while, do yourself a favor and read your own resumes. Like it's pretty neat. So thanks a lot.
Mm-hmm.
What made me leave Marriott? I mean, there's sort of the main storyline that I've been telling for the 8 years that I've been gone is I got pretty high up into middle management, and I got some access to the general managers in the hotel world. That's sort of what you think to be the top, right? That's the end. It's where you strive to go if you're a climber. All I saw was unhappiness, stress, because I didn't realize it, but the general manager isn't the boss. The owner is the boss, right? So even if you run the hotel, you still have stakeholders. So you just never kind of get out of having bosses. At the same time, we were moving from Alameda at the time we wanted to move to Napa. We were going to get out of our little condo and buy a little house. And I was going to commute to Walnut Creek. I was in one of those shared services, offsite sales, right?
Yeah.
Kind of Salesforce 1, V2 or whatever. The stuff that meeting planners hated. And And on a drive home from Walnut Creek one day, it just sort of dawned on me. My wife had just quit her corporate job. And it's just one of those lightning bolt moments that, wow, I wonder if I could quit my corporate job and try real estate. I had just bought a condo. Of course, I knew everything about real estate. That's a big joke we make. And that was it. 2 weeks later, we asked my wife's parents if we could move in with them. We were going to live with them for 2 or 3 months, kind of in the interim of selling and buying. And I said, what do you guys think if it was like a year? And they are so amazing. They let us move in. It ended up being 18 months as a 35-year-old married man living with my in-laws.
Bless you.
Bless
you
your
do real
heart.
estate, you don't make any money, right? It's you start
Right.
like, you know, when you go out on your own, you don't make $1 for the first week or 9 months.
Yeah.
That experience was amazing. I mean, the story kind of goes on from there, but that was the start of it all. Yeah,
Okay. So what were the risks that you anticipated happening? I don't know if risk is the right word, but like, what did you anticipate happening in terms of your business, and how was it different than what you expected?
I think you sort of, when you're in a W-2 world and you live a W-2 mindset, it's hard to even really know what's out there, right? If you were an entrepreneur in high school, maybe you made fake IDs, maybe you did what you had to do, you know, that's like a hobby. That's like a fun little weird money thing. As an adult, I didn't know. So I was basing it, you know, it took me 11 years with Marriott to make $101,000 a year, right? I was feeling like a king making 6 figures back at Marriott. So I based everything on, okay, if I can just make $100,000, then I'm gonna be good, right? And I didn't even see that there was any room on top of that, right? And so I thought it would be like a little bit of a climb to get back to that same kind of income level, and then I'd be kind of good and coasting. But I didn't see not only the ceiling, I saw the ceiling. I didn't realize it was much, much higher than it really was. And I also didn't see all the other doors, right, that would then later appear. Like you guys, right? You start one business and then like, why don't I do another one? Why don't I do another one? I started flipping houses during COVID. You know, we flipped houses in Tennessee for 3 years. There's a lot of different ways to make money out there on your own. So that's kind of the biggest surprise was like the world got way bigger than just like director of sales, general manager.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of like I have a line. And this way,
So just one follow-up, then I'll let you go, Manny, because this is opening up a whole Pandora's box of questions. What has been the favorite door? 2 questions, 2 parts. Favorite door of revenue that's opened up for you post Marriott, and then what's been the most surprising door?
Well, the favorite door is the main lane of helping people buy and sell real estate. It's like personally fulfilling because you get to help people with financially, most of the time, their biggest decision, 12x, right? That's a big deal. The second, the more surprising door was the house flipping. Like I got pretty heavy into, I opened a full second business and was running it side by side. Long story short, it worked really great until it didn't. So talk about failure and learning. We can get into that later, but that was a massive one. That was the unexpected door. I never thought I'd be anywhere near house flipping or developing or whatever, and owning rentals. You know.
Okay. Over to you, Mandy.
Well, I want to comment on your bio, which is amazing. And you warned me. You said you're going to love my bio, but I just want to read it to everybody. So, leveraging his astute business sense, marketing skills, and blah, blah, blah. Chris Meadors is a real estate advisor serving clients all over the world and is based in Napa. But the truth is, and all you really need to know is that he cares. I love that because so many people take so much time with their bios and you're like, none of that matters. All you need to know is that I care. So I want to go down that lane with you. Like when you say you care, what do you care about and why does that matter to somebody that's working with you?
I want to put that on my like real website. That was mostly just for you, but I think
you should. No, it's great.
Because I think We're just taking everything so seriously, right? Leveraging is astute. I mean, that thing is so garbage. Kelly and I did I can't wait to talk to you about remodel life. My wife and I also did a significant remodel of the home we're now in. And through that experience, we worked with probably 20 vendors. I don't know, right? Like at least. And over the years, I've developed this theory that all I really want in a vendor or a work partner or any kind of person that I'm in business with is that they care. I just want to work with people who care like a little more than not, because so many people just don't, right? So I say, if I expect that of someone else, I need to give that. So that's it. I mean, I just really try and I care and I'm thoughtful about when I'm working with people. I think how that comes to light is I tell people not to buy houses, like a lot, right? I don't get paid when they don't buy a house, but I'm in this for the long haul, right? And people often need to be kind of walked off their own bridge a little bit, right? Buying a house is really exciting. It's really emotional. It is not rational. And I try really hard. One of the many things Marriott taught me was how to qualify leads, right? Like we had a script and we asked the 10 questions. I always go back to them and say, well, according to what you told me. So anyway, I think that's an example of how I care.
Well, reminding people of the priorities is really important to show them that you care. Because how many times could a lesser person be like, oh, you want that? Fine, let's do the contract. You're like, but wait, hold the line. This is so far off of what you said you wanted. Totally. Are you sure? Like that's beautiful. I love that. What should we know about real estate right now? Like it's changing, and there's probably 2 or 3 things that people are coming to you with right now that they might not have been coming to you with last year. What are those 2 or 3 things that are nuanced and out there right now?
Well, there's two. So I was thinking about that question. There's 2 sort of buckets. If we have enough time, I love to talk about them. Number 1 is the real estate market. And then number 2 is the realtor. All right. Real estate market, I think, is what you kind of asked. We are shifting pretty quickly into a buyer's market, and it's beautiful. It's so nice to be more balanced than it has been for the last 15 years in the Bay Area. I'm in Napa, California. I can only really speak to Napa and a little bit of the Bay Area. The short version is the inventory's up, the buyers are flat. Math should eventually work out to where the prices may or may not come down a little bit. There is sort of a luxury market that is quite slow right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. You guys are seeing it in the meetings business, I'm sure. That lifestyle play, that second home buy is being put on pause kind of for the time being, right? That's a lot of my businesses. Second home, weekend home buyers from the Bay Area. The primary residence in Napa, $1.5 million and under, is still, there's still buyers. So sellers that are selling a home that would be bought by someone who's going to live there full time need to be realistic with their price for sure, and frankly, be willing to compete. You say compete as a buyer. Now as a seller, you're the one competing. So that's my biggest advice. If you need to sell a house this summer, wrap your mind around having to compete. That's the short version of the market.
And what do you mean by compete? Like for those thinking of selling their house right now, what do they have to do to compete to win?
So historically speaking, we would look at comps and to determine the value of a home. You have 3 houses in your neighborhood, sort of similar size. There's some data points that would predict what your home should be worth, right? Right now, it's also really important to look at competition. So in addition to what's sold, what's active, right? And what's active is maybe even more important because there's 3 or 4 houses that are just like your house. They're available right now. They've been on the market for somewhere between 10 and 500 days, depending on the market. You have to be compelling enough for the few buyers out there to choose you instead of them. So whether it's making your house look really beautiful and or pricing it to sell, frankly, the absorption rate is steadily growing in these markets. That's what I mean. Like you have to, in the Bay Area is hard too, because in the Bay, all you hear and you think is that some tech kid is going to buy my house, right? Everyone in Napa truly believes some tech kid is going to buy their house. And it's just not the case. So yeah, you have to be really cognizant of competing with the other listings that are on the market.
Now, when you mention realtors, how has the recent legislation with like the National Association of Realtors, how has that affected you?
Yeah, there's two great real estate topics going on right now. The realtor, number one. What I would like to get on a quick soapbox about is I almost want to like apologize to the consumer that we realtors have done such a terrible job of articulating our value that the public perception, correct me if I'm wrong, of realtors is that we make too much money and we don't do any work, right? Like selling the shows about selling Hollywood or selling Malibu, or I don't even watch any of them, I don't know, selling Sunset, have done us a disservice. There are terrible realtors out there. There are terrible people in all professions, right? I would advise anyone to choose their realtor a little more seriously than most folks do. Fun fact, something like 85% of first-time homebuyers use the first realtor they meet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Major life decision. They're putting all their money and they're going into 30 years worth of debt and like, hey, Joe, I just met you at an open house. I don't know you're a rookie. I don't care. I don't understand that you're going to give me really important advice. I can't fix it because it's nationwide, but it's just a sad state. And all I can do is advise people to like take it seriously in an interview and get recommendations, right? Like they would with most vendors that they're going to pay a lot of money to do anything, right? How the changes affected us. So short version of the changes, the commissions are paid a little bit differently. I don't want to get into the weeds. The buyer now has an opportunity to understand and negotiate what they're going to pay their realtor. That was untrue a year and a half ago. The way it's impacted me is, number one, now I can actually set my fee instead of just shake someone's hand and hope I get paid some number later on, which is great. Number two, it gives buyers agents a chance to legitimize themselves, right? So, hey, we're going to sign a contract. This is official, real business. I'm going to get paid. You can only work with me. I think it's going to work out great in the long term. The actual mechanics of it haven't changed. The seller still pays because you just roll it in. The seller has all the equity, right? The money kind of goes through them. The other thing that's going on right now that's not in the news yet is the Zillow versus Compass. Hold on a second. Let me
gotta close the door. The dog's getting
the dog's doing its job, just protecting its lovely owners.
Oh my God. It's like 90 here, so that's why I'm wearing shorts too. So Zillow v Compass. I would ask you guys both a question. If you were, what's your real estate experience? Bought and sold a house yet, or multiple? Like, what's your
multiple previous real estate agent back in the 2000s?
Got it. Mandy?
I bought and sold houses. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not for business, but for dwellings.
Yeah. You have owned a home.
Yeah.
Compass, my brokerage, my CEO, is on a mission to give homeowners a little more choice in that right now, the basic sales process, you take photos, you go to MLS, and it goes to Zillow. And the minute you go to Zillow, you start accruing days on market, and the value of your home quite literally starts going down. Right?
Yeah.
If you were a seller and you were given a choice, not Zillow or not Zillow, something without days on market, would you maybe choose that? Maybe, right? Other luxury goods don't have days on market, right? But Zillow is such a great lobbyist, and they control 85% of the online viewership. They say, no, we don't really like that because our whole business model relies on people coming to our website. So we spent the last 6 months or a year putting together this big off-market promotion. You can sell with compass.com, or really any brokerage. You can do an off-market listing, right? It's off MLS. Zillow just came out last week and says, for any listing that's promoted publicly, but not on MLS for any more than 24 hours, we're not going to even put it on Zillow.com.
Wow.
Bold.
Yeah.
And really too early to tell whether or not they're hold or what they're doing is legal. But it's just a really, really interesting fight going on between two pretty big heavyweights who don't like each other. So anyway, that's just like a little up-to-date nuance of what's going on in my world.
That is interesting. Well, also, I remember, I mean, we bought our house now 9 years ago, and then that's 2016. And then the first house I bought was 2006. So I've had like 9 years in between, and it just feels like everything changes. Like I remember Zillow was just sort of newish back in like 2012, 2013.
Yeah.
And when we were looking for rental properties for our renovation, everyone's like, yeah, because I asked my niece, like, where do you look for rentals? She's like, oh, Zillow. I was like, wait, I use Zillow for buying or house value, and now there's rentals. So I imagine for the consumer, it's really difficult to keep up. So like if I'm a first time home buyer, if I'm a buyer that hasn't bought in 9 years, like that was me the last 20 years, what are my choices if it's not Zillow, if it's on Compass, if I'm looking for a house? Like what are other people doing? What are the options that are out there?
Well, 85% of them are using Zillow because Zillow has unbelievable market share. At first when they came out, they were an incredible service. They made available what was only available to the realtors. Like we held all the keys. And that was a big part of our value. I wasn't even a realtor back then. I don't know how it worked. Zillow came along and said, like, wait a minute, this is public information. Like, let the buyer do the online look, right? There's 40 other aggregators. All they do is take information from MLS, redfin.com, realtor.com, every single brokerage, Compass, Coldbanker, Sotheby's, Keller Williams.com. They all have websites that all pull the same information. So you can Google an address and you can look it up. Probably 25 different websites, right? Mm-hmm. But Zillow has people's mental market share because they're 14, I don't know, several $1 billion company. Yeah, it's really interesting. So whether or not they can, yeah, it's hard to tell what'll happen.
That is interesting. I forgot about, well, it's funny because I used Redfin a lot in the old days too, but just Googling the address and then just seeing who's got the power SEO behind it and see what the first page of addresses are. That's kind of interesting too. I want to talk about investment properties. I feel I'm kicking myself in the pants because we missed an investment opportunity down here in San Diego. 3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to buy an investment property down by where the Gaylord Pacific is being built in Chula Vista, because I know what Gaylord Hotels does to communities. They come in and then everybody builds all around them, and they've got 2,000 employees, and it's amazing, right? They built Grapevine, they built Aurora, they built, whatever the surrounding area in Orlando. Like they do such a good job. So I really wanted to buy an investment property. My husband and I were not aligned on that. I should have just bought it with my business because then I'd have somewhere to live instead of paying what I'm paying to rent this place right now. And it'd be worth like triple the amount. But for people out there that are thinking about buying investment properties, when is it worth it and what questions should they be asking?
Oh gosh. When is it worth it? I mean, buying, investing, saving for retirement. When is it worth it? What's the saying about planting a tree? The best day was 30 years ago, but the second best day is today, right? Yeah, right. If you have the means and the savings and you can find a deal that mathematically pencils to your goals, now is the time. I think the worst thing people do is they get into analysis paralysis and they try to time the market. And there are people way smarter than me that tell you, don't try to time the market. And I would say the same thing for just something you're going to live in. That's really, really hard. Things they should look out for. Number one, get a good realtor on your team. They have an extended team of people that's going to protect you from making a bad decision. Number two, biggerpockets.com is a platform with podcasts and all kinds of stuff that has an unlimited amount of information. And then just, be really, really careful with the numbers and I would advise folks be really, really conservative. And also get up to speed with the laws. Being a landlord in California is very different than being a landlord in Tennessee, for instance. There's there's a little more inherent risk in California with your tenants and their increased rights. So those are the kind of 3 things that come to mind. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah. Thank you.
What's your opinion on the current rates that are out there? I know a lot of people ask you, like, do you think they're going to rise, drop, refinancing? Kind of, how do you advise your clients on that?
Great question. Rates. We finally, about a year ago, stopped saying just buy now, refi later, right? For 2 years, after the rates popped in 22, late 22, for 2 years, everyone was so bullish that they were going to come back down kind of right away. The entire industry was saying like, oh, it'll be fine. 12 months, 16 months. 12 months later, we're saying, oh, don't worry, 12 months. Just at the beginning, like summertime last year, you kind of heard that rhetoric fall off. My advice now is, and I'm working with some people right now who are they're in the exact position so many home owners are, which is they're in their starter home at 3%. Neighborhood they don't love, house they're kind of outgrowing, but to move across town, they're going to pay 7%.
Yeah.
My advice is, if you can afford it at 7% for 30 years, like, go for it. If that neighborhood is important to you and it works in your new budget, and you can either sell or rent the other one or whatever, however the math works, let's go for it. But I don't advise people to buy and then plan on the rate changing kind of like at all. Because what a silly thing to advise, That's like telling someone we hope they'll go down someday.
Right.
It should get a little more rational, maybe in the 5s. But I mean, why would you plan on that? I hate planning on that. It's just not conservative enough for me with that big of a purchase.
Yeah, because I'm in like the same position. I have a little bit higher rate, and maybe I can get it down a point. Maybe pull out some money. Just depends. So that's why I'm asking you that.
It's so hard to tell. It's like trying to time the market.
Tell us about the failure you had with flipping homes and what lessons you learned, and how would you approach it differently in the future?
I, in 2020, was listening to a podcast or a book on tape about investing and flipping houses. And within about 3 months, bought a franchise, like one of those We Buy Homes for Cash franchise, built a team back in Nashville, where I'm from. We bought and sold like a dozen houses or so during COVID, where you could do well as an amateur. 2023 came along. I bought a building in a little town called Clarksville that we thought we were going to be able to turn into a 4-plex. The 2 mistakes I made were trusting someone who was not qualified to be giving me this advice. I had done some jobs with her before, good for small jobs, not so good for the big one. And the second one was I just took my eye off the ball. I was going through like a professional. I worked on a team for 6 years and we were splitting up. So I was pretty distraught. It was like a bad breakup. I was playing a lot of pickleball. The business in California was down. We were kind of, it was like COVID. We worked 80 hours a week. So it was nice to get a break. And I just took my eye off the ball. I didn't run the numbers. I didn't do my own due diligence. I just listened to my advisor. We put a bunch of money into it, ran out of money, tried to go get more. Nobody would give me any. Thank God, because I would have just gone into worse debt. I had to sell it at a significant loss. So those were the learnings, don't get over your skis. Do your own work. You can't just hand off that level of due diligence. And like really, really run your numbers. Like I'm actually having a real renaissance of running my own numbers as a business owner in California, just my own real estate business. I have QuickBooks and I keep receipts, but if you told me like, what do you spend per month? I kind of couldn't really tell you. Both you guys run multiple businesses, right? Like, the value of basic bookkeeping and budgeting, right? So that really helped me actually kick myself into gear for my California business, so that's part of the learning, is taking away, all right, you didn't budget then, but you can improve. So
interesting.
Yeah.
I think we'll do this segment earlier because you've been preparing for this for many, many days and weeks. So we're going to flip the script and allow you to ask us any question you want. Nothing is off limits. So who do you want to ask a question to first? And what is said question?
Okay. I have so many questions for you guys. Okay, let's do like the funner, bigger one.
Okay.
I like to talk about bucket lists. We call them life lists, right? So I'd love to hear from either or both of you 1 or 10 things that you've had on your bucket list. That's it. Like, let's talk about life lists.
Oh.
I know one of yours, Amani, so you can't tell me that I want to interview Babyface. And by the way,
there you go. I was going to say that one. You did your research because that's high up on the bucket list right there.
Wait, did you say you could help with that, Chris?
I can't. I want to so bad. I've sat there and thought, God, who do I know? Who do I know that's even close? I'm going to think about it some more. But you know what's on my bucket list is helping other people get to their bucket list.
Oh,
that's so cool.
I would say on mine, after that one, let me see if I can give 3 or 5. Like, I definitely want to travel to Japan and Australia. That'd be on the bucket list. I want to attend the Grammys. What else? Create a documentary. That's on the bucket list, work-wise. And then I don't know if it's like living permanently or half the year in like a Spanish-speaking country. Whether that's Colombia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, South America. So that's kind of, and then you add in real estate there. Do you buy something there? What do you do there? It's a whole interesting. But I think those would be 3 or 4 things on my bucket list.
Okay, let me pause before Randy goes. If you had to pick one and take an action towards getting something accomplished, which one would it be and what would you do?
Ooh. Okay, I'll give you 2 answers. One is the documentary, and it's just starting to learn about creating documentaries and meet someone who's done it so I can learn from them. And then the Spanish-speaking country, well, I am planning a trip in October to go to Colombia, so I'm going to kind of investigate when I'm there.
All right. Pretty good.
Mandy.
I feel like for so long writing a book was on my bucket list, but I did it.
Yes.
And I'm going to keep doing it. I'll keep doing it over and over and over and over again. So those are always still on my bucket list, but that's lower on the priority because it's not as mysterious of how to get there anymore. I want to start a sales school for kids.
Oh.
And not just in underserved communities. I think people think I want it to be a for-profit, or it could be nonprofit. It doesn't matter. But I want to start a sales school for kids because I really believe that sales is one of those things that nobody knows how to do unless you have experience over and over and over again. And we don't have that type of experience until we're in our 40s.
Yeah.
And I know so many people, like my husband, so many people with advanced business degrees. They get their MBA, they get their doctorate, they get their PhD in business. They don't know how to sell. They know how to do a spreadsheet. They know how to analyze, analysis paralysis. But when it comes to selling, we are not teaching people this early enough. And I think about one of my friends was talking about how her son wanted to go to like a soccer camp and was selling, candy bars. And was like, he was like, will you buy my candy bar? And she's like, well, what happens when I buy the candy bar? He's like, will you give me the money? She's like, no, like, what am I buying into? And it was that thing of, he was like, oh, I'll meet new people. I'll become better at soccer. I might be able to pursue my dream of being Messi. I think if we teach kids, because when I teach junior achievement, I haven't volunteered in a couple of years, but one of my favorite classes was the value class where you teach kids value and you have them pick something out from their backpack or whatever, and you put a price on it on the desk. And then I have them walk around the class, and then they're all looking at what is something priced at and why would they buy it? And then the kid, like I remember this one little kid was like, this one pair of shoes that lit up, those were priced at $10, but I would pay $20 for them. And I was like, well, why? And he's like, because my mom and dad won't let me have those. Like the value for him was the exclusivity, right? This like access. And so I think kids actually understand value proposition better than adults too. We're so tainted in our minds that like, I think it's easier. So anyways, I want to start a school for kids. I want to start like age 6 to maybe 15 or 16, a school for kids, and have it be just a sales school. Kind of like the Khan Academy online but for sales.
Yeah, sweet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
God, I have so many thoughts about that. That's great. That's a good one.
Yes, that's mini worthy. So continue on.
Oh, Monty, you're like, check. I'm going to talk about this in our next mini.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask another one?
Of course.
Of course. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Similarly, big picture, either or both of you, I'd love to hear, what is your superpower? And if you think and how you are leveraging said superpower.
You want to continue, Mandy, or you want me to go?
You go, Monty.
Superpower for me.
This is like not a time to be humble either, right? You got to kind of lean in with some confidence, right?
Yeah. I would say like probably teaching. Teaching is my superpower. And in particular, I love to teach by using the lessons from the music industry. Like that's one, because pretty much everything in life, you can learn from the music industry. So I would say teaching is probably one, with like 1B being using the music industry. That's kind of and I equate teaching and coaching kind of close, because when you're a coach, you're a teacher.
Yeah. That's perfect. And you're doing both those things, right?
I am. Yes.
You're like very well aligned.
Yes. That's the goal.
Professor Amani.
There you go, the professor.
Oh, dude, we got to talk about Quiet Storm. 92Q in Tennessee in the 90s was they had like the Quiet Storm hour. When I heard about your book, I wondered, God, that reminds me of something I used to listen to on the radio when I was a kid.
Nationwide. It was
it nationwide?
Okay. It's nationwide, like all the different stations. So that's a love of mine. And so I'm glad to see so many people resonate with it. It makes me happy.
That's awesome. Yeah. We had it really fun. I was thinking of you this morning. My son and I, almost every morning we listen to, he's in his chair, I'm making coffee, but we're listening to music and I'm singing.
Oh, okay.
And today we usually start with Piano Man. I don't know why, it's just a fun one. And then we listen to I Did It My Way, which is kind of an empowering song.
Yeah.
If you think about it. And then we went on, and by the end of it, I'm doing the Carlton, and I'm going like, oh my God, I can't wait to tell Amani about this.
Yeah.
The singing was awful. It was terrible, but we had fun.
Okay. Music transcends. What do
you think, Mandy?
What's your superpower?
I think I have a lot of superpowers. I think one of my superpowers is building relationships. I think I'm a great relationship builder. And a relationship keeper, a sustainer of relationships. I've learned a lot because I used to be really bad at it. So I think I talk about failures. We could have a whole mini on all my failed personal, love, and business relationships. But I've learned a lot how to build good business and personal relationships. And I think I'm conscious of that. I think curiosity is a superpower. I don't know if it's a superpower or a disease. I'm really sickeningly curious and I love to ask questions, and I know it's annoying, but if I didn't ask the questions, I don't think I would know half the stuff I know. And I think curiosity is a superpower for sure. I don't know. Superpower changes too. I think lately my superpower has been empathy, but it hasn't always been empathy, but I've learned how to be empathetic in business where I haven't, that wasn't always. Like any superpower I have, I think it's because I was bad at it before and I just decided to learn how to be a little bit better at it.
I love that. Yeah, that's a little bit different than like you're naturally being good at something, and as opposed to recognizing something that you should be good at and going and getting it. It's great. Yeah.
What about you, Chris? What's your superpower?
Gosh, you took mine. I'm pretty serious about networking and relationships. And I feel quite in alignment that my job relies on intense relationship building and management. And then being curious. Yeah, my grandpa said something a long time ago. He said, be interested, not interesting. And that just always stayed with me. And I am really interested. Something I loved about Marriott was learning. Every meeting, every convention had a different industry. And who knew about the industries that are out there in the world, right? Like in San Jose, I got to work with a bunch of science nerds and then an anime conference, right? All in the same day. I got to meet the folks that did Little People of America's nationwide conference, right? I learned incredible amounts about that. So that was a really nice framework. And so, curiosity is, it's funny you call it a disease because, you can never stop asking questions.
It can be
bro, enough.
Yeah. The wondering, right? The constant wondering. It's like, when will it stop? When will it turn off? Yes. I want to hang here for a minute with your real estate because I do a lot of coaching for real estate teams, a lot of sales coaching, and they're always asking me all the time how they can sell differently. So what advice would you give to them? Like, how are you selling differently? How are you putting your name out there differently? How are you getting customers differently?
I don't know if doing it differently is the right answer. I think there are several proven ways to sell, and sell is also a terrible word for realtors. I want us all to lose that word forever, because being a hotel salesman, I actually sold hotel rooms. What we do is not selling. We guide people into buying or selling a home. It's not even our home to sell, right? I hate it when we say I sold them a house. Yeah, did you help them buy a house? So I think how am I doing it differently? One thing I really want to do is do it without social media. And I'd love to hear you guys talk about, like, can you live a life without social media? Because what it does to us and our kids and our teenagers in the world, like, it's sickening, right? And yet we just feed it and feed it and feed it and feed it. Side topic.
Another mini.
Right.
Preach.
I focus on two big buckets. I'm in a second home market. My big bucket is San Francisco realtors. So I work really hard to network with San Francisco realtors, but I don't think I do anything differently. I just network really hard and I try to give them value and create relationships. I listened to you guys' networking mini and I made some notes about, like, what do I do on networking? And then locally, you just need to be authentic and come with a sense of value and come with a sense of customer service. That's proven well for me. So that's what I would say.
Okay. And follow-up question to that. We touched on it earlier, but I didn't follow up earlier. And I wanted to tackle this. If people are looking to work with a realtor right now, what questions should they be asking a realtor? What should they be looking for? If they're looking to change realtors or if they're looking for their first realtor?
Yeah. I think finding out if that realtor has expertise in your particular goals and or product. If you're a seller, your product. If you're a buyer, what you want to buy. That's half the battle. Whether they have any experience at all is step one. That's a big one. People don't ask. But I think it's a little bit about qualifying. How long have you been doing it? How many deals do you do? What's your style? There's a lot of vibe and connection check that needs to happen too. It's a really, really unique business relationship that's also incredibly personal. I think you guys can kind of relate to that, right? Like your end user, your clients, your meeting planners, like, it's business, but it's pretty emotional too. This is like a lot of time that people are putting into these lives and money for you. Like, your students, these are their livelihoods that you're managing, right? Like, it's a really, really big deal. So I don't know how you gauge authenticity, but like, do you care? That's what I would ask. How much do you care?
Authenticity check. I like that. It's good. Yeah.
Now, I'm so curious because we have such parallel careers, but if we were to go back to talk to Chris right as he's leaving Boston University, the Terriers, if I'm correct?
That's right.
Yes.
Who else did we have from Boston? Phoenix Porcelli.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Boston University. Yeah.
So just as you're packing up your dorm room or offsite a campus or house as you're graduated, based on everything you learned so far, what advice would you give your younger self?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that really hard. Really hard. I knew you were going to hit me with that. I wanted to have some good, really good.
I love the question because people have different, it's an amazing question.
I mean, it is pretty corny, but I think I would tell myself to trust yourself and take all the risks, and be, don't be so quick to try to fit in, right? I'm kind of talking to myself in my Marriott box, right? Like I got on board with Marriott, put a suit on, and really tried to just like get in line and do the job. Most of the feedback I got from leaders was like, dude, you need to be more professional. And
that was one of the things I liked the most about working with you. I'm like, this guy's just a real guy. Like, he's so not buttoned up. So, what do they know? I was a client buying from you, and I like that you were not as professional as some of the other buttoned up, boring people.
and I don't think that's like generally good advice, because you got to kind of be professional, right?
Yeah.
But you also have to be a human and not a robot. So yeah, I think it would be some version of trust yourself, take risks. I asked my wife, and we have our doula is here for her last day. We're so sad. We love her so much. So I basically took that out to hang out with her all day. I asked both of them, and they said kind of the same thing. And we almost all universally also said, and break up with your boyfriend or your girlfriend.
That's funny. That's funny. What about if we went back 8, almost 9 years ago to at the beginning of your real estate career?
Yeah.
Same question.
Gosh. The real estate advice I give new people is to find someone to work for and go work for them and just learn. There's no other, there's probably other jobs out there, but I don't think there's a lot of jobs that are this impactful to your client than real estate. And there's very few jobs that have a smaller barrier to entry, right? It's embarrassing how easy it is to get your license and to be in charge of someone's $1 million purchases. So I always tell people, and I would tell myself, find someone else to work for who knows what they're doing and stick with them for 2 to 5 years. People should really treat a lot of industries, especially this one, as like an apprenticeship kind of training.
Apprenticeship. That's exactly the word I was thinking of. Yeah. Okay. Mandy, over to you.
Well, this is a selfish question too, but my in-laws sold their house a couple years ago in Kenwood. I think I said something over to you, or last year.
That's right.
But it took a while. And when you have a property like that, and I'm thinking about the baby boomers right now, because a lot of the baby boomers, and this was true with my in-laws, they want their kids to take the house. They want to, they're doing so much right now to, turn everything over to their kids. And I think about my neighborhood, their kids don't want the house. They don't want to deal with the house. The Gen Xers and millennials, they've got their own plan, and it's not aligned with what the baby boomers have been working their whole life for. Nobody's wrong or right in this scenario, but it's happening, right? So for those of us that have aging parents that we may have to do something with their property, or for the aging parents that, or have to get rid of their house because they're downsizing and their kids don't want it or can't have it. Like, what advice do you have for properties, not just properties like that, but what advice do you have for people at that stage in their life? Like, what's the secret to getting it sold? What's the secret to having those conversations with your family? Like, that's a real estate thing that's coming up again and again right now. I know, Amani, you went through that, and I feel like a while ago, and then you had to revisit it recently. So I think I'm probably hanging out in your world a lot, Chris.
Yeah. Okay. Heavy question, right? A lot of family, a lot of estate planning. The first thing I would say is like have really honest and vulnerable conversations with your family, right? And this goes both for us with aging parents and the parents, right? Like my parents are aging too. It's time to start talking about a will. It's time to start talking about estate planning. That's step one, right? Get pretty serious while you're lucid, while everything's good, and have those conversations and get on a plan and be honest. If the younger, soon to be inheritance kids, or whatever the word is, don't want the house, physically the house, start maintaining it today. Like most of the time, 80-year-old couples like don't take care of the house very well, and then you have a ton of deferred maintenance. Houses do not only increase in value, they also get old and they lose value. So that's just like a mechanical, tactical thing, I would say. Like get a realtor involved way early and start checking away at those little boxes that'll help the infrastructure of the home stay sound. And then, I mean, it's so market specific. Like, how do you sell a house? That's like too hard to answer, right? Like, get a good local realtor and listen to them. That's usually my advice to people that are outside of my market. Find somebody really good, and then listen. Take their advice.
I like the idea of, because we're going through this on the other side of our family too, of like, have the conversation. Obviously, everybody has wills and estates and all that, but like, how are you caring for the house? How do you need help caring for the house? Do you plan on being in this house for a long time? Like, I hadn't thought about that till you just said, just like, have the conversation. It's not even about selling the house. It's like, have the conversations about the house. Cause like, you might be able to help in the next 10 years. We might be able to take actions as kids in the next 10 years to make their living situation a little bit easier. Just help them consider, like, do I need this huge house? I like, should I be downsizing? Am I not really caring for this the way I probably could? I hadn't thought about those types of conversations till you just said that. So thank you. That was good pro tip.
I would say, so the realtors are tricky, man. We see houses in all those cycles, right? And we deal with a lot of big family dynamics, people growing families, shrinking families. I would also say for your renovation 2 months ago or so, I would have gotten a realtor involved. Like, don't let a realtor tell you how to design your kitchen, but kind of like get a realtor involved just to help you build some guardrails for later. I know you're going to live there forever. Everyone's going to live in their house forever, but you're not, right? So I don't know. I think the role of the realtor can be way earlier than people think, just for some like loose, high level guidance.
Is that too much? So that is funny because I actually, my husband and I was like, should we get Jim over here? Because before we decided to renovate, we were looking at buying a new house instead, instead of investing all the money in the real estate, in the renovation.
Yeah.
But I, as a salesperson, I was so conscious of everybody's time. I'm like, I don't want to waste his time because we're not going to be buying. Is that considered a waste of a realtor's time, or do you consider that like a seed you're planting for the long term?
If someone invited me over to their house to help guide them on a renovation, I'd be honored, right? Honored. Everything we do, realtor, I consider myself, when I help someone buy a house, I give them this little corny speech and say, okay, great, you bought a house. My job just started. I want to be your realtor for the rest of your life. I want to be your family's realtor. I want to be your kids' realtor. Everyone I'd love to be their realtor. I hope I did a good job for you. And I hope you'll continue to rely on me like a financial advisor for the rest of your life. So it just falls into that bucket of customer service. That's it.
Yeah. Ultimately, he's going to be the one that's going to sell it.
Or not.
So we might as well set it up for success, right? I didn't think about that. That's good advice. Yeah.
That's like the simple version. The other version is he's just adding value, right? That he's got an expertise, adding value. It happens to be the way we get paid throws people off, right? I had a really good friend. I was working with them this winter, and they said, "Oh, I feel bad texting you." And I said, "Lee, do you know how much you're going to pay me?" They were buying a nice house and selling a nice house. It was like a large amount of money. And I said, "If you'd have given me a $10,000 retainer, do you think you'd feel bad?" Like, hell no. Well, then the way we just happen to get paid one time in one moment, that stretches over a long amount of time, right? You pay your financial advisor every month, and you feel like, oh, no problem, I'll text them all day long, right? Or whoever the vendor is,
Yeah.
So that's like puts a little weird wrinkle in the relationship. But yeah, it's part of the customer service. It's part of the job.
Okay.
Great advice.
How can we best support you, promote you? We have your ticker, we have your Instagram there. Any other ways we can support you?
Oh, you've done it. This is awesome. This was super fun. Support your local realtor. That's what I would say.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, we'll give you a round of applause. We'll put you back in the green room momentarily. And just thanks for sharing your story and your wisdom.
Thanks for being here, Chris. It was awesome to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a blast.
Okay, Mandy, we are done with that episode. Who do we have to look forward to next week?
We have the founder of Pro Event Tips, Gabriella Rabuccio.
Okay. All right.
And I've known her a little bit of time. Met her parasocial relationship first, and then I met her in person at IMEX. So I'm excited to have her on the show. She's got coaching she does, but she knows a ton about events, and she's going to talk about tariffs and economy. And I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun show.
All right. Well, thanks to Chris for joining us today. Make sure you are rating, reviewing, and subscribing to the podcast on the platform you're watching or listening on. If you're on YouTube, hit that little subscribe button and the bell so you know when we go live or post a new video. And with that, we will look forward to seeing everyone next week, 1 p.m. on the West Coast, 4 p.m. on the East Coast. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.